So here I am. I'm going to talk to you about something different than reviews and announcements I've been, doing lately. I've just been so busy. I haven't had the time to make any other videos, so I'm making up with it for that with a video of something that I wanted to do for a while, but as I said, never got the chance to. And recently, it's kind of become more in the presence of my mind. So I'm going to have a chat about it, or I don't know, maybe a little rant, I don't know, we'll just see what happens. Basically, this originated from a conversation that happened in my office about feminism, and has sprouted through to me thinking about women in literature, and also in the past few weeks has been World Book Day. Absolutely brilliant, celebrating literature and everything. And in a poll, it was found that 6 out of the 10 heroes that were voted, the best heroes in literature were women, and 7 out of 10 villains were also women. So women have dominated the heroes and villains, polls of late. And it was very interesting. The topic in my office that took place was sprung up because somebody said how they didn't didn't like feminists, didn't agree with feminists, and that was a very interesting conversation that took place. Anyway, I'm not going to delve further into that particular aspect, but it really got me thinking about women in literature, how they're portrayed. What do we feel is very prominent for a female in literature? Does she has to be, the really bold character, or can she be quite a shy character? What is the best definition of a female hero or something? And to me, it kind of feels like it's a mixture of all things. It's not just one definition. Now, if you look back over, literature kind of in the beginnings, as it were, kind of the first stories that you're given when you're a child are fairy tales. Now, in fairy tales, the girls are either the wicked stepmother / stepsisters, because there's also stepsisters get involved in that. You're a witch, someone who's evil, who's out to get you, who's just horrible, kind of sometimes combined with the evil stepmother thing, but still can be very distinct separate characters. Or you're the princess, and the princess can sort of be smart, but not really, and it's all very much fall in love with a handsome prince because he's pretty, and you get together, yay, and then you live happily ever after, and that's it. And it's kind of, it's interesting also when you think about it, that those fairy stories were written by men. Let's face it, it wasn't a case of that, women were writing for women at that point. It just didn't happen. So these just 3 distinct characters that get ingrained into us in childhood have been perceptions of women from a time very different to ours. Now, of course, as you get older, you read more stuff. It covers a whole range of decades and such in literature, not just fairy tales and then modern literature. So it's very interesting looking at how women are portrayed in various stories as you're looking through time. Now, the writer who I really, really admire, I've always had a love for, and I think it's very interesting how he writes women, is Charles Dickens. Now, Charles, he had a very strange fascination with women for a start. So in a sense, maybe, I don't know if this is weird to say, whatever, but maybe if he didn't have such a love for women, especially his sister-in-law, perhaps we wouldn't have these amazing characters, because it is very well known, if you look at the history of his life and the women in his life, especially the women who died in his life when he was, growing up and everything, and look at the characters who they reflect in his literature. They're very interesting characters. You can clearly see them in in his writing. How because for example, he had this great love for his sister-in-law who died in his arms. Suddenly they came home, they went to the theatre. She said she wasn't feeling that great, and she collapsed and died in his arms walking up the staircase to her bedroom. And she was 17, and she was thin, and she was beautiful, and pretty much, all of the pretty 17-year-old, lovely, sprightly, beautiful girls in all of his books is a reflection of his sister-in-law. But then there are other women in his books who are really beautiful characters, really stunning. And the one who stands out most clearly in my mind, just talking right now, is Nancy from Oliver Twist. Now she is a girl who we know from reading the book Oliver Twist that she has been working for Fagin, the leader of the boys and goings in London, who they pickpocket and all that lot. She has been working for him since she was little. She knows him very well. So she's been on the streets for a very, very long time. And she has got this man in her life, Bill, who she will do anything for. She absolutely adores him. Even though he beats the heck out of her, even though she, sells herself in order to get money, and she stands by him no matter what. But then when Oliver comes into the story, because she knows she has to save him no matter what, the balance shifts. And with Dickens, there's always a sacrifice. The good guys win, the bad guys lose, but there's a sacrifice. And in the case of Nancy, she is the sacrifice, and she dies at the hands of Bill in one of the most tragic pieces of writing I feel that he ever wrote. It's so sad, but I think it's that fundamental thing that she was a flame that, well, even though she was killed through Oliver living, she is still alive, and that is fantastic. This wonderful girl who took what came to her, and she dealt with it as best as she could with her life. But in dying, she saved the life of Oliver, and will forever be a hero. And I love her for that. Being a hero doesn't mean getting all the way through the book, and that doesn't mean it whatsoever. You are not a hero if you just because you live doesn't mean you're the hero. You can have the worst possible things happen to you. That if you do it for what you're doing is something that for very pure purpose. And if it saves another person's life, for me, you're a hero. That's I can't help but feel that. Now, looking at the list of the top 10 heroes that came out from this poll, I've got them on my screen here. Sorry, just bear me a second. I'm just going to scroll down and find them. So our top 10, this is a combination of heroes and heroines. So we've got Harry Potter, self-explanatory. Matilda Wormwood. I like Matilda. I think she's a really, really cool little girl. In Roald Dahl, I really like Roald Dahl in the way in which he plays with characters, and he respects children. And I think it's very interesting also that the children are generally smarter than the adults in all of his books. They're wittier and such, and I think that rocks. Hermione Granger, yay, Hermione. Do love Harry Potter. Bilbo Baggins, number 4. I love J.R.R. Tolkien, so I was really happy that Bilbo made it on the list. Then Lyra from His Dark Materials. Now, His Dark Materials, I haven't read the books. I tried to read the books years ago, but I couldn't get into them. But I have got the BBC radio dramas, and I really do like the radio dramas, so I think I'm going to try and reread them again. But I have to this year's book challenge is over, because obviously I don't have time to read it. Then Jo March is number 6 from Little Women. I really like Jo. Jo is a really feisty girl who completely breaks social conventions. She always says how she wishes she was born a boy so she could go to war, and she could be, you know, with her writing, she could be respected as a proper writer and everything. So with Jo, she is a really great heroine, and she's trying to break the boundaries of what life should be in the time in which she is around. So yeah, I really like Jo. I think she's fantastic heroine, so deserves to be on this list. Then we've got Katniss Everdeen from The Hunger Games. Katniss, I have a great love and respect for. She's a very interesting character. But with Katniss, even though, you know, and I strongly love her, don't get me wrong, with her situation, I feel it's quite different than other situations of heroines and such, in regards to like the Jo Marches of the world, in which Jo March recognises that she's in this society and she tries to break out of it and such, but in the end she's learning to adapt to it, whereas Katniss has been shoved into this situation in her society, completely petrified, doesn't know what to do about it, and because of something that she did, it really annoyed the rich people of her society, and she is, in a sense, because of the Hunger Games, what happens in the second books and such, being forced into this situation again and again, and it's how she copes with that situation. So Jo March is trying to break the mold, but learns to adapt to it, whereas Katniss is trying not to let the society that she lives in break her. So she's very, very quite different. You know, different situations, different books, but she is a really, really great heroine. I really do like Katniss, but on a completely different level than, say, the Jo Marches and Hermione Grangers and such of literature. So number 8 is Winnie the Pooh. Well, you know, Winnie the Pooh. He's pretty cool. 9 is Anne Shirley from Anne of Green Gables. I really like Anne Shirley. I think she's a really, really interesting girl. She's a girl, again, she's kind of like Jo March in regards to that she absolutely loves literature. She wants to be a writer. That she's this new girl who's been adopted and brought to this island to, you know, where her adoptive parents are, and she's very different from everybody else. Because she's so feisty, and she's always describing things and finding romantic things in literature, and she's so full of wonder. Kids pick on her for it, and it's all about her learning to not tame herself, but understand the world that she is now in on this island, and learn to love everyone and be accepted, and what that teaches her to then, as she gets older and, you know, goes on to adulthood, and so become a writer. It's really, yeah, really interesting stories, Anne of Green Gables, I think. And the last one is Paddington Bear. Well, you know, we love Paddington. Now, going back to the whole history of women in literature, if you know, kind of look across the ages, when you hit like kind of the Victorian kind of, you know, kind of area of time, things start to change, because you're starting to get male writers who are understanding women, and also you're getting a lot more female writers writing under the pseudonym of men. And of course, this is when, you know, writers like the Brontes come into play. But there's one writer, a male writer, who writes women very, very interestingly, and I think he had a great respect for women as well, and that was Thomas Hardy. Now, Thomas Hardy wrote books like, you know, Tess of the D'Urbervilles and Far from the Madding Crowd and such, and these women, especially Tess and Bathsheba, who are the main characters within those two books, are very, very interesting, because Tess is a heroine with this tragedy thrown at her, and it's all about, you know, what happens to this girl in regards to the whole situation of he's trying to say there are people in this world who are going through these terrible situations, and because of their level of society, they are being ignored, and we're judging them for something that may have been completely out of their control. And in the case of Tess, is her being raped and becoming pregnant by this man, and how she is then getting shunned. She having this baby, finding that she can't be accepted in society. The child, what will happen to the child, what effects it has on her family, how they have to move, and it's very, very interesting, and psychologically how it scars her, and what that ends up happening to her is one of the most tragic things ever. But she is a hero in a sense for me, because of the way in which she copes with it. She is completely and utterly on her own, yet she still manages to get through every single day. She perseveres, she goes to the fields and she works. She, keeps going. And again, there's this thing, as I said, with hero. Your hero doesn't necessarily have to make it all the way through the book, and the hero sacrificing themselves for somebody they love. You could say Tess is doing that, but also it's about courage. It's about dealing with the worst possible thing that could happen to you, and still, waking up in the next morning and getting out of bed and doing what you have to do. And I love Tess for that. I think she's awesome for what she does, and it's so sad what happens to her at the end of the book. And for Bathsheba as well, she's a very interesting character. This is a woman who is taking on a farm, a role, it should be a man's role. A woman, oh gosh, she can't manage a farm, she can't make it work, she can't do anything like that. Yes, she can. And as Thomas Hardy shows in his story, just because she was born a woman, that doesn't mean she is less of a person, she is less of a brain, she's less of a businesswoman. She kicks butt when it comes to, managing her farm. And okay, she has some issues with the men in her life, but she doesn't allow that to affect her work, and she perseveres through, and I love her for that. I think she's awesome. Now, in more modern literature, of course, we've got women writing about women. Obviously, as I said, it starts off kind of, you can see in sort of Georgian Victorian kind of times more than in earlier years, and as I said, kind of like the Bronte sisters and such. But as time has gone on, and in more modern days, it might well be that you could argue that female writers are writing these bolder, stronger characters because we have the freedom to do so. That is totally fair to say. I totally, understand that as well. But there are, some characters, if you look back over time as well, who are, these bold characters being brought to life for us, and especially when you look at the villains. And, on this top 10 list of villains, we've got characters such as, I'm just looking at my screen here, so we've got, of the girls, Dolores Umbridge, Cruella de Vil, the White Witch, Miss Trunchbull, Bellatrix Lestrange, the Grand High Witch, and Mrs. Coulter. So, that ranges, mixture of fantasy and, and other books as well. And also it's a range of characters from books who are, from children's books like Matilda all the way through to His Dark Materials and Harry Potter and such, The Lion, the Witch and Wardrobe as well. So it's a mixture of men and women who have created these characters. So I think it's that thing. It's stemming back from the beginning of literature and such, where we get first presented as children in form of fairy tales written by men who you are either the witch, the evil stepmother, or you're the dumb princess. You know, it's the way it is. Now, I love how also, looking at a different text in a sense, how, you know, children's animated films and such, they are recognising that in this modern world, we want strong characters. We don't want dumb princesses. We want to break convention. And you've got fantastic films like Tangled and Shrek and Frozen and such, who are taking traditional characters and breaking it down and going, okay, you could be a princess, but a princess, the definition of being beautiful as a princess doesn't mean you have to be a skinny girl with the most beautiful face and the best of teeth and the longest hair and such. And you can, it's whatever you are beautiful. You don't have to be the hero. You don't have to have a, you know, a great name and all this lot. You can be called Eugene. You know, you don't have to have an animated film where the main storyline is a princess falling in love with a prince. It can be about the friendship and the love between sisters. We want these characters, this break in stereotypes, and we're starting to get those through, and children seeing these films and learning from them, and that is absolutely fantastic. So I'm really happy that there are these different mediums that are doing that, not just in literature, we've got them on film as well, which is fantastic. Now, I've been going on for like 20 minutes now, oh sorry, and to end this video, I've been going on a bit longer than I intended, sorry. To end this video, I want to talk about my favourite woman, what should I say, female in literature. And it's somebody who was not on the list of heroes or heroines, but she is an absolute true hero to me. I think she's wonderful. And that is Molly Weasley from the Harry Potter series. Now, you're probably thinking, okay, she's Ron's mum. Big deal, but why would you put her there? Now, it takes a great deal, I think, to be the hero of somebody. And so, you can see the fact that she's my hero, or heroine, however you want to describe it, in literature. It is a big deal. It's not something I take lightly in regard, you know, I haven't just picked her out my head this minute. Now, I love Molly. I think she is wonderful because in the Harry Potter books, the world in which they live in, there is a lot more equality between men and women, because it's that thing that anybody can say the spells and such, and, you know, flick your wand and everything. So there isn't this huge break between men and women and their capabilities and such. If a woman, regardless of her age in the Wizarding world, is just as powerful as a man, regardless of their age in the Wizarding world, because they, you know, they're saying the spells and everything. And the fact that Molly is a, you know, stay-at-home mum, she has raised, you know, got several children. She has been a wonderful mother. She teaches her kids right and wrong. She also kicks ass, sorry about my language, in the big battles. She goes through some of the most horrific stuff you can ever imagine, and losing a child as well is, you know, I can't imagine what that would feel like. I mean, I don't have children myself, but I couldn't even contemplate what that feels like. She has to deal with looking after. She not only looks after her own children, she looks after Harry and Hermione as well. So, and also the other people in the Order of the Phoenix. She's always the mum. She's always cleaning and cooking and washing and making sure everyone's got a drink and everyone's comfortable, and everyone, you know, she takes care of absolutely everyone. She lives in terror every single day that her family is going to be taken from her, and yet every single Christmas she, you know, you see her, she sends presents to Harry to make sure he's got, you know, he's got something, and for his birthday as well, he's got something, to know that he's loved. she always has a smile on her face. She perseveres through absolutely everything that is thrown at her. And she is just wonderful. And for that, Molly is my favourite heroine ever. What more can you say? So, right, I'm going to stop there, because I've been going on, as I said, far longer than I thought it would be. But what do you think? Who are your favourite heroines in literature? If you want to let me know, please leave a comment with this video. If you want to show what you thought about this video, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Entirely up to you. Are you a fan of Molly like me? Please let me know. Let's open up this conversation. Who are the best ladies in literature? I'd love to hear your thoughts. And I'll be back soon with another video. See ya!